Okay. Sorry, guys. I know I kept pushing it back. Thanks for waiting. Wow, there's been a chat going on for a long time. I normally start at 4 p.m., but I had somebody picking up a dog I was watching today. So no big deal. It just had to push things back a little bit. Is that okay? I have more news about aliens. Aliens, well, probably they weren't responsible for the killing of this healthcare CEO. So, healthcare CEO, United Health, got gunned down in NYC. There's video of it, which I can't show you because you can't show video of people getting killed, unfortunately. Or, well, that's just the rules on YouTube. But it will be like every single video in your feed if you start scrolling through Twitter videos. So I can show you the first maybe 1 second of it. Pretty serious. Happened this morning in NYC. So I have that news for you. We'll cover it. There are some, well, you guys can tell me what you think happened to the guy who killed him. It could be a real conspiracy. Or it could have been his wife put out a hit on him, or disgruntled somebody who didn't get covered for something. Apparently people aren't feeling bad for him because he's a healthcare CEO, health insurance CEO. So, because he denies people coverage. Apparently, one of the things he did is where, like, if you go to the emergency room and it's not critical, they'll charge you for it. That's one of the things he's known for. So, 50 years old, big time CEO, gunned down in Midtown Manhattan, close to Central Park, very close to where they're lighting the Christmas tree this evening. So, Banty Henkel says gay lover. Sure, could be a gay lover. That's possible too. We have all kinds of theories here in this room. So we'll talk about that. Bitcoin is getting close to 100K again. Oh, well, they appoint one of the new appointments is a crypto-friendly person to be in charge of the SEC. So that might be one reason people are excited today. But yeah, Bitcoin kind of pumped. It's at 98,300 right now. Hit 99 a few times. So we'll see. Maybe it'll get to 100 on the stream. We keep hoping for that. 100K. So I have that going on. I have more Democrats talking about the pardon. That's still a big story. Big case in front of the Supreme Court regarding denying transgender care to minors. So I have a few like the Supreme Court arguments on that. It's in front of the Supreme Court right now because one state, maybe Tennessee, one state denies healthcare coverage, or says that it's illegal to do transgender care, affirmative care on people under 18 in their state, and it got challenged by this trans person at the ACLU, who I'll play you from. So I have that. I have Mike Benz was on. I have more UFO stuff, like I said. A lot of it's drones flying over military bases. So yesterday we did a show about the alien invasion. I showed you many things. One of the main things is these drones that have been flying over New Jersey, but apparently they're flying over military bases and other places too. So don't know. We might have an alien attack or alien contact. Okay, so I'll play you those videos. I'll give you some more videos of UFOs for sure. We'll give you that today. Biden sleeping and some other stuff. You'll see. You'll see once we get through the show. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me a little bit late. Thanks, Ricky from Sunnyvale. Well, that's what happens when you do the show after sunset. I have a light in front of me. Okay, a little more. Let's see if I can turn it up. Oh, there. How about that? Is that better? I look shinier now. Is that better? It's a ring light. It gets pretty bright. Now, are you satisfied? I look a little crazy though. All right, here we go. I'm going to start the show, whether you're ready or not. Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news. Yes, I forgot to mention the news everybody is talking about today, which is that Joe Biden is thinking of pardoning more people who haven't been accused of crimes yet. And the names being floated out there are Anthony Fauci, Liz Cheney. What was the other one? Oh, I can't remember the third. But Politico is reporting that Joe Biden's thinking about pardoning those people because Trump is going to go after him. He'll have to give him some kind of blanket pardon the way he did with young Hunter. So that's kind of crazy. That everybody will go nuts if he pardons those people. So Fauci, who's guilty of perjury that we know of, and Liz Cheney, who I don't know what she's guilty of. What I don't know what she needs to be pardoned for. And then there's somebody else too. I don't know if I have the tweet mentioning it though. All right, let me I'll show you the press conference from the shooting. I can show you 1 second of the shooting. A few clips of Mayor Adams. Maybe we'll start with Joe Biden sleeping. That's a nice, pleasant sight. We'll start, and then we got to see if Trump is going to start pardoning people right out the gate too. He promised he would pardon the Silk Road guy. Can't remember his name right now. The Silk Road guy, he promised he'd pardon. The Dread Pirate Roberts. I know his nickname. He said he would pardon him. He told all the libertarian people that he was going to do that. So, I'll remember. I will. All right, here's Joe Biden falling asleep in Africa.
We note the
Ross
progress
Albrecht.
made on the development of the Lobito corridor and commend
He's
the
supposed to pardon
visionary
Ross
leadership
Albrecht.
that has
And then he
brought this
should pardon
initiative to life.
Edward Snowden
And
too.
it is through
Doesn't need to
such
pardon Assange
partnerships
anymore.
and innovations that
Ross
Africa's
Albrecht,
Agenda
who made the Silk Road where you could buy
2063 will
drugs
be
and stuff.
realized.
Can you still buy hitmen on the dark web? They don't talk about the dark web much anymore. That was like kind of a thing for a while. Like, oh, you can go on the dark web and get CP and hire somebody to kill somebody. It's like $5,000. The going rate, I think it's around $5,000, unless maybe there's been some inflation, but it was, from what I understand, about $5,000 to get somebody killed, which seems cheap, really. It's not even 1/10 of one Bitcoin. Can you believe life is so cheap? Let me show you. Yeah, I'll show you the first second where this guy says it was a professional hit. He says he's using a silencer, which you can see. And apparently he's using subsonic ammunition, which makes less noise because I guess it doesn't break the sound barrier. So it's a quiet weapon by a professional. I can't show you more than 1 second because he gets shot. There, stop. There you go. That's what happened. That's how much I can show you. That I can show you. The moment before he gets shot. Then this guy, so he's got on this gray backpack. He's got on a hoodie. He's got on a mask. There's pictures of him. I think I have those I can show you. So that's the healthcare CEO in the blue. This guy comes up from behind a car or something, pulls out his gun with a big silencer on it, shoots him in the back, then seems to like clear his gun. Some people say he didn't have experience using the silencer because the gun kept jamming. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it. He did have to, I can't show it to you. He's clearing the gun, it seems like between shots. Like so I don't know why that is. So there you go. People saying professional hitman because he like walks away basically afterwards. He's very calm. He is very calm. Very calm. And then they say he probably had a change of clothes in the backpack, dump the gun, change clothes, get out of town. I mean, God, it just seems kind of easy to get away with murder. Do you ever think that? But somebody could recognize him from the pictures. Shit. Transgender. Hold on. Where are the pictures of the guy? I thought I had them. Oh, there's Ketanji Brown. See, I have my tabs mixed up. Oh, geez. I have my tabs all mixed up. Where are I have aliens. I think I have the pictures of the guy. There. Here's one. Okay. Here we go. I got it. Have no fear. So people are saying he looks very young. That's what people are saying. So here he is. That's one picture for Crime Stoppers. If you think you know him or have any information about the crime, call Crime Stoppers, 800-577-TIPS. Don't call 911. So yeah, that's the guy. That's how he was dressed. And it's cold, so you can get away with being dressed like that. The CEO's from Minnesota. He looks like he's inside a bank or something. I don't know. It doesn't say where these pictures are from. Looks at some kind of something. He's got a bench behind him and stuff. Don't know. So that's the guy. Okay. Allegedly. But it looks like him dressed the way he was dressed when he did the hit. So there's cameras in New York. Not as many as in London. But there are a lot of cameras. So they can follow him. Oh, and then he jumped on an electric bike, which apparently you have to register for. So that's another way. And apparently has GPS on it. So that's another way he can be caught. They say he went near Central Park on this e-bike, a city bike, they call it. And apparently you either have to have an account or use a credit card. So that's one way they're going after him. I can't imagine he would be so stupid as to use it. I mean, there's just no way. Oh, apparently he was lying in wait for a long time. Some people say as long as maybe overnight, but definitely for a little while he was waiting. Then the guy came by. He was on his way to a conference, which I believe he was like running. It was some kind of financial conference. Stephanie says oh yeah, they said it was a beige jacket. That's true. It's not. Oh, thank you, Stephanie Bailey. If you know, that's a Starbucks. Okay. Everybody's saying Starbucks. Is that because people know the answer to that? Stephanie says he staked on a private e-bike, but I have many news stories or people on Twitter kind of saying that it was a city bike. Something. So, maybe you guys are more up to speed though. You know, you have to get this news as it develops. So I have the press conference for you. I'll play you that. This was from earlier today. The press conference on the guy who got killed.
The information I'm about to give you is preliminary as our investigation is continuing. This morning at 6:46 a.m., patrol officers from Midtown North Precinct responded to a 911 call of a person shot in front of the Hilton Hotel located at 1335 Avenue of the Americas. This is between West 53rd Street and West 54th Street. At 6:48.
Yes, freedom rights for us, as I was wondering why he knew where he would be. Yeah, I mean, he's from Minnesota, so the guy knew around where he would be and what time, even what entrance he was going to go into the hotel into, I guess. So he had it really scoped out. So yeah, you have to ask that. How did he know the guy's schedule? He was going to a conference, which could be, was probably somewhat public knowledge. So that's one way to know, but still.
A.m. Officers arrive and find the victim, Brian R. Thompson, a 50-year-old male, on the sidewalk in front of the Hilton with gunshot wounds to his back and leg. Mr. Thompson was removed by EMS to Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 7:12 a.m. Mr. Thompson is the CEO of United Healthcare and resides in Minnesota. Detectives from Night Watch, Midtown North Detective Squad, and Manhattan South Homicide responded to the scene and began their investigation. What we know is that the shooter arrived at the location on foot about 5 minutes prior to the victim's arrival. He stands alongside the building line as numerous other people and pedestrians pass him by. From video, we see at 6:44 a.m., the victim is walking alone towards the Hilton after exiting his hotel across the street. We believe the victim was headed to the Hilton Hotel to attend the United Health Group Investors Conference that was scheduled to start at 8 a.m. The shooter appears to be a light-skinned male. He's wearing a light brown or cream-colored jacket, a black face mask, black and white sneakers, and a very distinctive gray backpack. The shooter steps onto the sidewalk from behind the car. He ignores numerous other pedestrians, approaches the victim from behind, and shoots him in the back. The shooter then walks toward the victim and continues to shoot. It appears that the gun malfunctions as he clears the jam and begins to fire again. The shooter then flees on foot northbound into an alleyway between 54th Street and 55th Street. Once at West 55th Street, the shooter continues to walk westbound on Avenue of the Americas, where he gets onto an electric e-city bike and rides northbound on the Avenue of Americas.
Electric e-city bike. Oh, there's a picture of him, it looks like, on a bike. But that is what they said. An electric e-city bike. And the city bike is a thing. I think they're owned by New York City. And then you rent them. They're electric.
Towards Central Park, where at 6:48 a.m., we have the shooter riding this bike into Central Park at Center Drive. At the scene, we recover 3 live 9mm rounds and 3 discharged 9mm shell casings. The motive for this murder currently is unknown, but based on the evidence we have so far, it does appear that the victim was specifically targeted. But at this point, we do not know why. This does not appear to be a random act of violence. We are seeking information from the public to help identify the shooter. As the commissioner said, we have upped the reward up to $10,000 for information. You're urged to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-577-TIPS. All information will be kept anonymous. Thank you very much.
A couple of questions. One, based on the surveillance we've seen of this individual, do you feel like he's professional? You mentioned that he did the bullets fell. Do you feel like this was a professional individual who took this man's life and also will it affect in any way the tree lighting tonight?
I'll answer the part about whether or not he's a professional. That we have no way of knowing that. From watching the video, it does seem that he's proficient in the use of firearms, as he was able to clear the malfunctions pretty quickly.
Just really quick, this incident will not affect the tree lighting. The tree lighting is slated to start at 7 p.m. The show, the actual lighting of the tree will be close to 10 o'clock, actually 9:55 p.m. We will have a massive police presence out there around Rockefeller Center from 52nd Street all the way down to 47th Street. We will have plainclothes out there, a plainclothes detail out there. We will have our CRC assets, our strategic response group assets. We will have our intel division out there, a lot of assets out there to make sure people can come out and have a good time. And we're going to have additional police officers in the subways as well, so people can take mass transit to make it easier to travel into the city and enjoy the tree.
Okay, that part of it was not that important. They're still lighting the tree. I guess they already did because it was at 4 p.m. when this show normally starts, or 7 p.m. Eastern, of course. Mm-hmm. Okay, so some people are saying things like, I need prior authorization before sending my hopes and prayers, stuff like that. Apparently, people are trolling the comments because people hate healthcare, which I don't blame them for. So here's the conspiracy theory so far. One of them is that Nancy Pelosi was involved. So here's what happened: is this company had a hack earlier this year, and then it was okay. So here's the deal: he was being investigated for like insider trading or something. God, where do I have that? He was being investigated for insider trading or something. He was under investigation. If somebody had him killed, it would be Nancy Pelosi, who may have been insider trading with him or something. I don't know. I know what the theory is for sure. But Nancy Pelosi invested in this company, Palo Alto Networks, before or after the breach, I think, after the security breach at United Health. She invested in Palo Alto Networks, and they ended up being the ones who investigated the breach. I guess the stock went up. Apparently, she made $9 million last month on her stock portfolio, and it hit an all-time high. So anyway, that's the one conspiracy theory about it. It has to do with Nancy Pelosi. Okay, since we're in New York, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I have a few clips from Eric Adams, who basically is a Trump fan, pretty much, and is a fan of the way this country is going now. So he's going to be kind of based, I think. So he said he's going to work with Trump and Trump's people on getting illegal immigrants out of New York. So let me show you that. I'll show you that. Those clips, 2 clips. One of them where he talks about Bitcoin. That's funny. So this is Eric Adams, mayor of New York.
Those who are here committing crimes, robberies, shooting at police officers, raping innocent people, have been a harm to our country. I want to sit down and hear the plan on how we're going to address them. Those are the people I am talking about, and I would love to sit down with the board of czar and hear his thoughts on how we're going to address those who are harming our citizens.
We're open to that.
Open to
Hearing what their plan is to deport some of these folks, and you think the city, in some circumstances, should cooperate with us.
Let me. You know what's interesting? And I was talking to the team the other day. I want you to all go back and Google Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Google what they said about those who commit crimes in our city and what they said in our country. They said those who commit crimes need to get out right away.
Yeah,
that was their position.
That's what they all said.
So
the
this
Democrats.
is not a new position, because in the state of in the era of cancel culture, no one's afraid to be honest about the truth. Well, cancel me, because I'm going to protect the people of this city. And if you come into this country, in this city, and think you're going to harm innocent New Yorkers and innocent migrants and asylum seekers, this is not the mayor you want to be in the city under.
Illegal immigrants ride e-bikes on sidewalks in New York, and people get pissed. And then they can like run down old people and stuff. Then Jason Goodman yells at them. But illegal immigrants and e-bikes are a menace in New York City, apparently, according to Jason Goodman, who walks the streets there and often yells at them. So lots of reasons to get rid of illegal immigrants. Apparently they cost us a lot of money Doge said something about it, like over $100 billion, maybe over $200 billion. So I'll play you another clip from Eric Adams. Now, also talking about the same thing, kind of, in terms of working with the new administration, I think.
We were a country and a city that led the globe in innovation. And look at us now. It's time for a change. And I've said this for years, and I'm happy that Elon is going to be part of those who are moving that change forward. We should not be afraid of Bitcoin. Remember y'all laughed at me when I first got my Bitcoin? Who's laughing now? Go look at my Bitcoin now. You all mock me. You're taking your first 3 paychecks in Bitcoin. What's wrong with you? Now you wish you would have done it. you know? And so I am happy that we're having people who are willing to think outside the box to do the things we need to do. Why are we afraid of AI? We shouldn't be afraid of AI. China's not afraid of AI. We have been holding back. This has been a racehorse that wanted to run at its right pace, and we've been holding back that racehorse out of fear of being canceled. And now you have a bunch of people that are not afraid of being canceled.
There you go. He said the same thing in both clips, that he's not afraid of being canceled anymore. So that's what it's like. A lot of people are optimistic. I don't know if you are. A lot of people are optimistic about the future and maybe our economy and stuff. So that'd be good. I'm optimistic about Bitcoin, but that could collapse the US dollar. So, which could be painful for some people. Oh, here we go. I knew I had this tab open. Yeah. Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, he was facing a DOJ probe for insider trading. So he was being looked at for insider trading. Same thing Martha Stewart got popped for. So he might have been insider trading with Nancy Pelosi, possibly. It's possible. I mean, they're, you know. All right, I have the transgender stuff. Let's see. Why don't we talk about Democrats talking about the Hunter Biden pardon. Then I'll get into the transgender Supreme Court hearing. Let's see. Here's stuff on that. Let's see what else I have. Okay, I only have a little bit on that. Democrats melting down. Okay, here we go. Let me play this. This is just like Destiny freaks out because this other Democrat says that it was wrong that Joe Biden pardoned Hunter. Wait till he pardons Fauci. That'll be amazing. Hawk Tua is trending.
This is 11 years. The pardon covered 11 years. It was sprawling. And I think, the next one we should watch for is possibly him pardoning James Biden. Because 11 years not only covered, his presidency, but also his VP time and also Hunter's time during Burisma. And it's just so incredibly ironic. And I'm speaking as a Democrat, that even Democrats and members of the intelligence community said that laptop was just a made up story. Now, in one fell swoop, Biden basically proved his haters right, that there was something in that laptop. And I hate to say it, but it's just true. This is just a black eye to his legacy.
By the way, on the laptop, let's not forget the New York Post had the laptop scoop, and liberal controlled big tech at the time, including Twitter, Facebook, and others, they suppressed that story from being published. In fact, hang on. In fact, the New York Post, because I write columns to the New York Post, for 2 weeks before that election, their whole Twitter account was suspended because they refused to take down a legitimate, true story, as it turned out. That is an appalling attack on free speech, an abuse of the First Amendment, and actually it could have swung the election. Who knows? If that laptop story had come out and been properly forensically examined by the media, it could have tipped the election Trump's way. 40,000 votes. 40,000 votes in the end decided that election. So hang on, I'm still with Lindy. I'm still with Lindy, Francesca. Wait one moment, please. Just play me your buzzer for a moment. Thank you. Lindy, here's my point, is that it's not just about Hunter Biden being dragged into something. The laptop contained evidence of crimes, and it was suppressed from the media in that 2 week period before that election. And that is a much bigger picture than whether Hunter Biden got pulled into politics.
Right. And I think this is not just an act of love. It wasn't just a father's compassion. It was almost perhaps even an act of self-preservation, because we don't know what happened in those 11 years. It's covered everything from 2014 to December 1st, 2024. So this whole thing is gigantic. And I think in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see more pardons coming out. I think this is really just the tip of the iceberg. My guess would be that he might even pardon people who were involved in Hunter's business. Who knows? I'm guessing the
They've been
next person might
investigating
be
Hunter
doing-
for 8 years.
All right, let's
Like,
bring
they
in
found
Francesca.
nothing.
If she's put her buzzer down.
Destiny.
Francesca.
8 years. Where are the charges?
There are none.
Statute
Lindy,
of
I'm just, like,
limitations, bro.
more
They started the
I am
investigation
more-
8 years ago when they had the laptop. What do you mean statute of limitations?
You go back to when the
The fact
crimes were
that Hunter
committed.
Biden sat on a call and he said, "I'm here with my father. You know, we expect you to follow
Thank you.
through." He basically shook down a Chinese
Where's
business
the
Chinese
charges?
person.
Oh my
And he
God.
said it time and time
Where are the
again.
Lindy, can I ask
charges?
you a question? Do
And
you,
even,
does anyone here
even
care
a
that
venerable
Jared
medical
Kushner,
media institution like CBS said that 10% to the big guy can't be anybody but Joe Biden. And I hate saying this.
Oh, I didn't know
I know
CBS
this
was
brings
part of the
me no joy to
DOJ. Oh,
acknowledge it,
is
but
CBS going to bring charges?
we lose all credibility if we do not
No.
acknowledge
Oh my
reality.
God.
So there you go. That's what the state of the Democrats. Some of them want to be realistic, and then some of them are still insane. I have a 5-minute clip. I didn't realize it was 5 minutes of Charlemagne talking to Whoopi Goldberg about Biden pardoning himself, because nobody on The View seems to have a problem with it at all. They, in fact, don't. They want to say, like, if somebody says Joe Biden lied, they want to like question someone for saying that. But 5 minutes. Okay, I'll play some of it.
Let me ask you something that's going around right now. A lot of this conversation about President Biden getting criticized from both sides of the aisle for pardoning his son Hunter after repeatedly saying he would never do it. And a lot of people are saying that it's hypocritical, et cetera, as if the other side doesn't do it. But what's your reaction to it?
I mean, I think all of the criticism is valid because, you know, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time. And, you know, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, you know, whether or not, you know, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that right now. But since they were calling Trump a threat to democracy and they were saying that, you know, nobody's above the law, but they were speaking about him, that's what they were running on. So when he kept saying things like, oh, you know, nobody's above the law, I respect, you know, the jury's decision in regards to my son, he didn't believe that. But he didn't have to volunteer that lie to begin with.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You
his
really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of
No,
a sudden?
I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over. And this is just my feeling, because at some point you get to the place where you just go, so I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that go out. They're the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground.
Listen,
they don't have to do that.
I'm a Democrat. Tell me what the moral high ground is.
The moral high ground is nobody's above the law. I respect what the jurors are saying. He don't have to do that.
So we're mad at him because he changed his.
Oh, no. By the way, I'm not mad at him pardoning
But
Hunter
you sound
Biden.
like you're
No.
If I can get in on this, I actually think it went further, and this is one thing we really disagree on. Joe Biden made a point of saying we stand by our institutions
Yes, I
and the
understand all that.
impartiality of the Department of Justice.
Yes.
Democrats ran on that. The same DOJ indicted Hunter Biden. How we shouldn't be saying it's corrupt like Donald Trump does. But then in his statement pardoning Hunter Biden, he says that it was a political pursuit by his own Department of Justice.
Can you explain to me why it is that when Joe Biden does something, everybody clutches their pearls? He's wrong.
Nobody
he lied.
criticized Donald Trump more than me or Charlemagne.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, people have criticized him more. I've criticized him more. We've all criticized him more, but you're missing my question.
Okay.
My question is, what is it that makes people flip out with Joe, but we don't have the same kind of
thing.
Well, I don't think people are flipping out with Joe. I think Democrats are flipping out with Joe because Democrats believe that they don't represent what he's currently representing. But that's just not true. That's why I say they stand on this moral high ground that simply does not exist. And I think this is also the problem when we pick sides, right? We've turned political parties into teams. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. Ain't nobody more delusional than me, right? Okay? I feel like we're going to the Super Bowl every year, but I'm not delusional. Well, no, that is delusional. But when it comes, but when it comes to political parties, if you pick a side, right, if you say you're a Democrat, if you say you're a Republican, you refuse to be objective about
That's
anything.
why I'm an independent.
Yes, but
that's not a monolith. We're not, Democrats are not a monolith.
Why can't you say when Democrats are wrong? And why can't Republicans say when Republicans are wrong?
I'll tell you when Democrats
So
are
you
wrong.
don't think Joe Biden is wrong?
No, I don't. And can I just point this out to you? The president has the pardon power, right?
I didn't say you were ridiculous, Ms. Goldberg.
Yeah.
I said that. I just think that.
Think about it. Just think about it this way.
They have to get somebody conservative for that show. It's too out of control that they all basically believe the same things. But at least Charlamagne said, why can't you admit when Democrats do something wrong? They won't admit it. She's like, oh, well, who cares? She just does whataboutism. She's like, well, what about Trump? What about Trump? But it's like, what about what you guys said? That's the thing.
Questions?
Here's this.
Yes, Bolton.
Do you agree with some of your Democrat colleagues who say that President Biden's pardon of Hunter Biden was wrong, unwise, puts personal interest ahead of duty?
I got nothing for you on that.
Everybody asks questions about Hunter.
As I said, I got nothing for you on that. Nope. Gonna s-
Pardoning anyone on the way out of office, family members, sets a poor precedent.
Thank you. I've got nothing for you on that.
But the question is, we talked about January 6th pardons. This is a playbook for incoming President Trump. Isn't this a problem? Did he not establish a bad precedent for pardons?
I got nothing for you on that. Any other subjects?
There you go. He was asked many questions about the pardon, and he's got another for him. Schumer. Yeah, Democrats are all screwed up. They're fighting with each other. I don't know what's going to happen next. It is definitely a realignment. They're going to have to be different. They used to be different. That's the thing. They used to be anti-crime. I mean, it's weird. They were so, they were like anti-illegal immigrant. They were always talking about that. Clinton was basically, pretty right-wing. He got rid of welfare and stuff. And then Joe Biden wanted to send everybody to jail for being black, or no, for smoking crack, pretty much, which his son did too, proving that it's not just black people who smoke crack. Okay, so this clip's long too. I have a clip of the Supreme Court thing. So this is the transgender ACLU person arguing that 2-year-olds should be able to have.
I want to bring in the lawyer who's going to argue this high-profile case before the U.S. Supreme Court.
That's
Chase,
a female.
Strangio, Chase, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it. So the case comes at a time when 26 states have passed laws restricting healthcare treatments for transgender youth, according to a CNN analysis of data from the nonprofit think tank Movement Advancement Project. So how do you plan to argue before the U.S. Supreme Court in a case that could have wide-ranging implications beyond the state of Tennessee?
Well, thank you for having me, Jake. And obviously, this is a critical inflection point for transgender people across the country. We're coming off of an election season where transgender people played an outside role in people's consciousness in terms of the way in which we were situated as a threat to others. And when we look at the map of states that ban this type of evidence-based healthcare, we went from 0 states that had these bans in 2020 to now more than half the country. So before the court tomorrow, the question is really a simple one as I see it. It's really, this is a law that bans medical treatment only when it is prescribed inconsistent with an individual's sex. Our argument is that treats people differently because of their sex, and therefore the court has to treat it like all other forms of sex discrimination, and that's why it's unconstitutional.
So attorneys representing the state of Tennessee told the U.S. Supreme Court, quote, if the government's theory holds, men who identify as women could claim constitutionally based access to women's bathrooms, women's locker rooms, and women's sports. Accepting that theory would perversely erode women's rights and jeopardize landmark statutes protecting women's equal access to schools, winners' podiums, and beyond. What's your response to that?
Well, I obviously disagree with that premise that allowing transgender women into women's sports or women's bathroom is a threat to women, but it is also not the question before the court in this case. And in fact, it is a totally independent question about whether a law that bans medical care for transgender adolescents discriminates against people based on sex versus these separate cases that preceded any of these healthcare bans will continue to be litigated in the courts regardless of the outcome here. So that clearly is conflating a bunch of different questions. The question before the court tomorrow is about whether banning medical care, overriding the consent of parents, the recommendations of doctors is a violation of equal protection.
What do you say to physicians who are sensitive and supportive of trans kids, obviously don't want suicidal ideation, et cetera, but wonder if there is enough data as of now to prove that it is beneficial to allow these sort of treatments before the age of 18?
So I would say three things. And the first is we have decades of both clinical experience and research data showing that this is medical treatment that provides critical benefits to adolescents who need it. And so this is not new. This is not new medication. And so we have that information. We have long-term studies that track people for 5-6 years. The Supreme Court this week heard arguments in an FDA case in which the FDA referred to long.
People are confused. Yeah, it's a female with facial hair from some testosterone, which didn't change her voice much. But don't be fooled. Yeah, I know you could tell by the voice.
Long-term as being 6 months of follow-up. Here we have years of follow-up. And so that's the first thing. And then the second thing I would say is nobody has to provide this medication to adolescents. These are not doctors being forced to provide this medication. These are doctors who are wanting to treat their patients in the best way that they know how based on the best available evidence to us. And these are young people who may have known since they were 2 years old exactly who they are, who suffered for 6-7 years before they had any relief. And what's happening here, it's not the kids who are consenting to this treatment, it's the parents who are consenting to the treatment.
All right. Enough of that guy. That's or female. That is ACLU lawyer, transgender activist. Chase Strangio, I believe is the name. All right, I'll play you some of the clips from the Supreme Court, from the arguments. I have good ones. Oh, okay, I have Ketanji Brown saying some crazy stuff. Okay, hold on. Let's see. It's the same clip. Yeah. Oh, no. Different clips. Different clips of her, and then a clip of Alito. Okay, hold on. Let me get this. Okay, so she was talking. That person was talking yesterday, and today they're in Supreme Court with arguments. People, and there's audio of it. So I'll play some of it. This is Ketanji Brown, who makes some of the craziest arguments.
That it operates on the body in the same way. So what's your basis for saying they're not the same?
I don't think it operates on the body in the same way. Take testosterone. If you give a boy with a deficiency testosterone because he has constitutional delayed puberty, that allows him to go through and develop the reproductive organs associated with being a male. If you give it to a girl, it renders the girl infertile. So we have 8 to 12-year-olds.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought your reasons for them being different was that you said they were for different purposes. I'd heard you say at the beginning, the reason those two are different is because one wants them to transition and the other wants them for some medical purpose.
Well, to go back to my example in the introduction, I don't think anyone would say using morphine to assist suicide is the same treatment as using morphine to manage pain. It's the same drug, just like it's the same drug here, but they're being used for fundamentally different purposes. They have different effects on the body. And once you take out and recognize medical reality, then there is no argument that our law differentiates between treatments for males and females.
Can I ask you about one?
Okay, didn't get that entirely, but she was saying that because I don't know. Okay, there's one more about interracial marriage, saying banning trans surgeries. Okay, let's play that clip. Oops, hold on. Audio's gone. Hold on. Okay, hold on.
Was discriminatory being drawn by the statute. That was sort of like the starting point. The question was whether it was discriminatory because it applied to both races and it wasn't, necessarily invidious or whatever. But, as I read the statute here, the case here, the court starts off by saying that Virginia is now one of 16 states which prohibit and punish marriages on the basis of racial classifications. And when you look at the structure of that law, it looks in terms of, you can't do something that is inconsistent with your own characteristics. It's sort of the same thing. So it's interesting to me that we now have this different argument, and I wonder whether Virginia could have gotten away with what they did here by just making a classification argument the way that Tennessee is in this case.
Yes, I think that's exactly right, that there is absolutely a parallel between any law that says you can't act inconsistent with a protected characteristic and in all other contexts
being drawn by the statute. That was.
So she says like banning interracial marriage, which was what the Virginia case was. She says stopping people from getting transgender treatments is like banning interracial marriage. And she wonders if they would have gotten away with that if they'd used the same argument. Okay, here is just Alito saying it something important, making an important point that it's not sex-based discrimination. All right, let me play that.
Does the category of does transgender status apply to individuals who are gender fluid?
I think that the distinguishing characteristic is to have a birth sex that does not align with, or a gender that does not align with one's birth sex. So it may include people who have different understandings of their gender identity, but I think it is still the distinguishing characteristic of a birth sex and a gender identity that are incongruent.
Are there individuals who are born male, assigned male at birth, who at one point identify as female, but then later come to identify as male, and likewise for individuals who are assigned female at birth, at some point identify as female, identify as male, but later come to identify as female? Are there not such people?
There are such people. I agree with that, Justice.
So it's not an immutable characteristic, is it?
Well, I think people's understanding of it shifts, but the evidence shows that there is at least a strong underlying basis. And I think the normative reason for that particular consideration is whether or not this is something that someone should or could change, and whether they should have to change it in order to receive constitutional protections. And I think transgender status squarely fits within that.
There you go. It's not an immutable characteristic, being transgender. It's a choice. That's the thing. It's different from other things, like being black or something, right? That's not a choice. And most civil rights protect for people against immutable characteristics you can't change, like your sex, for example. So it can't be discriminatory if being transgender isn't an immutable characteristic, which it isn't. So that's what he basically proved, because you can change and then you can change back. It's your choice. It's up to you how you want to live. You can have your penis cut off and then you're fucked forever. All right, you ready for alien stuff? So that's it on the Supreme Court. We'll see how they rule. I think they'll probably rule that it's constitutional, that it's okay. Yeah, I'll show you some video of spacecraft, or the alleged spacecraft. So here's the New Jersey stuff. Again, another New Jersey video of the drones.
This one is extremely low.
Here.
It's loud.
If it's loud, I don't think it's a spacecraft, because usually they're quiet. So it probably is a drone, but it is weird. We don't know where they're coming from, and they're big.
And it's huge.
It's so big. It looks so much closer in person.
Yeah, my camera doesn't do, it looks like a spaceship, right? Like that doesn't look like a drone, right? That looks like a spaceship. It's like a small plane. It really is like a small plane. Oh my God. These are all drones in the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 right here. This one is extremely low.
All right, I have
It's
to turn it off,
loud.
but it's jammed. My computer's jammed.
And
Pirate
it's
says,
huge.
how do I know what a spacecraft sounds like? Only what I've heard. People say,
Yeah, my
oh, they're
camera-
silent a lot of times. Oops. It says that's clearly a plane. No. Apparently it's a drone. I mean, because it's smaller than a plane. And it doesn't look like a plane exactly. It's more like square shaped. It looks like a plane. It's got lights like a plane, kind of red and green lights. But I think officially they're drones. Maybe they fly too slow to be planes too, and they hover sometimes. Here's more alien video. Let's see.
Instagram, what's that? Look, hold on. Let me stop walking. What's that? That's a plane? Why it ain't moving? Then what's this little homie back here? That's a plane? Why it ain't moving? Look at that. It got 4 lights on it. Instagram, what's that?
There you go. So that's one guy looking at videos. Oh, here's a crazy one from some other country. It's really weird. I'll show you that. That's weird. Some kind of thing.
这是个什么东西啊？妈，你先别说话，妈，你先别说话。妈妈，你别说，我就不会给这个钱的。妈妈，你别说话了。这是什么东西啊？我的天哪，王楠，这绝对是 UFO。这拍到一个。
Pretty weird. You guys remember that pyramid over the Pentagon?
这是个什么东西啊？妈，你先别说话，妈，你先别说话。妈妈，你别说，我就不会给这个钱的。妈妈，你别说话了。这是什么东西啊？我的天哪，王楠，这绝对是 UFO。这拍到一个。
There you go. So that's video of some cube-like spacecraft. Okay, let's see what else we got for you. Okay, I'm going to show you video of a CIA guy talking about MH370. Have you guys seen that one? How it has the 3 orbs around it and then vanishes through a black hole. So this guy's talking about it. I guess he was on Candace Owens.
And of course, recent reports have come out about Diego Garcia's possible role in the Malaysian Flight 370 and its utter disappearance. In my view, there were on board Malaysian, you may know this, Flight 370 on board were a company that had engineers that were developing chips that could function at room temperature, supercompute at room temperature. Extremely valuable technology to defense and intelligence. They were on that plane. And we mentioned before, I think you have interviewed somebody on this. They finally released some of the footage of the aircraft before it disappeared, and there's objects rotating around the plane, changing its course, and then poof, it's just gone. No wreckage, and the wreckage they claim they found an ocean away wasn't even from that flight. So there's something that really needs the American people to look into, and maybe this new administration, because I think something really nefarious happened there.
I think that the government has technology that we couldn't even imagine. Yeah. And
there you go. So that's some CIA guy saying, yeah, I think MH370 was like abducted somehow. Okay, I'll play you this video because I have it. About how I'll play a little clip of Mike Benz on Joe Rogan. Some people are sharing like a 15-minute clip. This is 2.5 minutes. Then we'll rock out. I mean, we'll go home. It's late, way later than usual. All right, hold on. Here's Mike Benz talking about how they redefine democracy. He was talking about basically how government
switched from
interfere with
saying
free speech. That was his main thing. I mean, he had a lot of details.
They switched from saying Russian disinformation is the threat, so that's why the Pentagon's involved, that's why the state and CIA and FBI is involved, to saying, well, actually, domestic disinformation is a threat to democracy. So regardless of whether it's the Russians or not, we need to censor Americans to preserve democracy. And this happened in tandem with
what examples were they using to justify this?
Well, they pulled off a cute trick where they doctrinally redefined democracy to mean a consensus of institutions rather than individuals. They had, when Trump won in 2016 and Brexit passed in 2016, they took this anti-authoritarian toolkit, which has for 80 years been the CIA's predicate for overthrowing governments. And really since the 1910s, when Woodrow Wilson announced that America's role is to make the world safe for democracy, we've long had a habit of intervening in foreign countries in order to liberate people from authoritarian control and bring them the gift of democracy. And that has always meant, primarily, that the government would represent the mass of the mass of individuals in the form of voting. When Trump won in 2016, at the same time that all these right-wing populist parties who were just like Trump also won between 2016 and 2018, primarily using free speech on social media and their popularity there, they argued that right-wing populism was the same authoritarian threat that left-wing socialism, left-wing communism was. And so they said, well, populism is the people's ground-up revolt against institutions, against government, science, media, against the NGOs, the experts, the academics. So what they did is they argued that democracy has to be defended from demagoguery. Democracy needs guardrails. We need bumper cars on democracy that go beyond what people vote for, because people voted for Hitler, people voted for Trump, and they were doing this at U.S. government conferences, by the way, in 2017. I can show you some funny ones if you're interested. But they were arguing that we need these institutional guardrails against people voting for the wrong person.
There you go. All right. So yeah, that was good. It was a good show if you guys want to check into it. Mike Benz, he had a lot of facts. That actually kind of melted Joe Rogan's brain. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry it was late. I'll be on time probably tomorrow. Tomorrow, which is Thursday already. How exciting. All right. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, 4 p.m. Nobody gave me super chats. You can buy t-shirts if you want by going to truthclothing.io. Or you can also support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil and dropping a coffee there. That's the way to support the show, and you can leave a note. Or you can use Cash App, $LTV411. We appreciate it. You guys support the show. Make sure it exists. Please. All right, guys. See you tomorrow. For now, that's what it is.